if you have an idea, write it down. Especially if you want to write, you got to write every day. You got to work at those skills, and you have to show and demonstrate that you have skills and ability. You can't ask, okay? Because if I would have asked to write that book, it never would have happened. But I had shown skill and ability. So basically, I had something that I could offer, something that here's what I have done, and they found it, and they contacted me. So that's how it all came together.
There's that marketing lesson again.
Insurance dudes are on a mission to escape being handcuffed by our agencies.
How? By uncovering the secrets to creating a predictable, consistent, and profitable agency sales machine.
I am Craig Pretzinger.
I am Jason Feldman.
We are agents.
We are insurance dudes. Mike, so what have you seen in trends as far as like industries that are going for more now compared to ones that are just falling off, going lower?
Well, M&A is, and this is another, I think, a Bill Snowism. M&A is microeconomic. Everybody likes to focus on the macro. What's going on in the economy? And the macro can certainly have an impact on a micro aspect of economics, micro being a single company, right? So certainly something that goes on in the economy can hurt the micro. But a bad economy and a strong growing company with good profits and management team that's going to stick around. So it's a good, strong company, but the economy is bad. That good company in a bad economy will trade and probably at a premium because it's just tough to find good assets. And conversely, the other side of that is a weak company, a bad company, declining sales, it's losing money, management is fleeing, all kinds of issues and problems, but the economy is going great gangbusters. I don't care how good the economy is. If the company is struggling and in a downward spiral, you're going to struggle to find bids, or certainly bids that will be palatable to the seller. So focus on the company. So if you've got something, the focus should be on the strength of the underlying asset, not so much about the greater economy. Again, greater economy can certainly have an impact on the micro.
What do you advise companies that are planning for an exit? Like what should they do to really start bolstering up the all those things that you just mentioned?
Yeah. For companies, this probably, I'm going to guess, doesn't apply in the insurance business and the agencies, but there's a couple things that we focus on. Ideally, you want to have an outside accounting firm do your statements. So you have to hire these people who don't want to talk to people, and they're very happy because they'll just look at numbers all day long and they'll put together. You want to have either a review or an audit. Okay. Ideally 2 years, especially if you have anything called inventory, because you want the accountants there observing the amount of inventory at the end of the year and also the beginning of the year. This way they can say, this is an unqualified opinion. We have no qualifications to this. It's unqualified. So you want 2 years of audits or reviews. We're really pushing business owners to do it's called a quality of earnings report. So an audit or a review will set up this horrible acronym. I had a client that once called it EBITDA-ba-do. All right. So this EBITDA stuff, right?
For real?
It's not. Yeah. EBITDA-ba-do. Right? Yeah, no, he called it that. He was joking, of course, because he thought it was silly. So EBITDA, so audits and reviews set up EBITDA, right, which is not even a GAAP term, and it's not even cash flow. It's just meant to be a way to measure companies on an apples for apples basis, right? If you take away taxes and the need to make capital investment and so forth and so forth, right? You don't have to borrow money and pay interest on it. What would the cash flow of the business be like? So it makes sense. What's going on is a focus on adjusted EBITDA. So you've got kind of an uber non-GAAP accounting measurement, adjusted EBITDA. So what are adjustments? Adjusting for owner-related expenses. Maybe the owner is taking a big salary. You can hire a new president for less than what the current owner is making. So you can make an adjustment there. So basically expenses that go away once the deal is done. One-time only, truly one-time only expenses. And that's valid, but the problem is that this has taken on a life of its own. And so you'll see these adjustments where you see the EBITDA, and then you see these massive adjustments in every single month. 30, 40, $50,000 in adjustments. And it might be different stuff, but they're adding back everything. And any buyer's going to say, wait a minute, okay, yeah, that's one time only, but it seems like every month you have a one time only expense for $40,000, $50,000. I'm just going to have to keep that in because I don't know what it is, something else, but I'm going to have 40 or 50 grand. So this adjusted EBITDA, you have to be careful. It's a bit of a Frankenstein's monster that's being used today.
That makes sense. What about owner operated versus non-owner operated?
Sure. Can you give me maybe a little more context in the question?
Valuation, valuation. I don't know, like how much people, like how many buyers are in the market for companies that are, run by the owner.
Yeah, a lot. I mean, well, it depends on what the company is and then the size of the company. But you do raise a very good point. The owner operated versus maybe a company that's owned by a private equity firm. And this is an issue that we'll see with businesses. So somebody owns a business, it's manufacturing, they're making some, they're bending metal or doing something, and it's a nice business and good revenue and real good profits, and the owner's made a real nice life for him or herself. The problem with those, a potential problem, is an owner who is viewed as integral to the ongoing success. So you've got that person who has all the sales relationships, who oversees all the administration, who hires and fires everybody, who deals with the bank, who handles all the production and design, or okays this and tells all the engineers and designers what to do. So you take that person out of the mix, what do you have left? And that's and it's a bitter pill sometimes for entrepreneurs, because they're so used to being the middle, and they're great at all these things, and they've built a great business. But if they are viewed as integral to the ongoing success of the business, that is going to put a downward pressure on the price that somebody else might pay for that business. So when I tell business owners, make yourself expendable. If you're not needed to run the business day to day, the business is going to be worth a lot more.
Yeah, makes sense. What would you say for a lot of insurance agents like to get into other industries? So for any entrepreneur that's looking to get into a new industry and perhaps just buy a business, what are some things to look for, especially in this day and age?
Sure. Well, the question is, why would they want to buy a business? What sort of business do they want? Are they just looking to make a lot of money and not do any work? Well, get in line. Everybody is trying to do that. They think they're the smartest guy in the world. Hey, you know what? No one's ever thought of this.
Yeah.
I could buy a company and not pay a lot for it, but make a lot of money and not have to do any work. That's everybody has that same idea. Okay, that's not going to happen. You're going to have to work really hard when you buy. So you want to figure out, what am I looking to do? What do I like to do? Why do I want to make an acquisition? Is it just to diversify my holdings, or and there's no right or wrong, but you have to look inward and figure out why you want to buy this company. And then the next thing you have to realize is, when you buy a company or try to buy a company, acquisition work, in my view, is divided into three main buckets: search, negotiate, and finance. Let's take those in reverse order. Finance is usually the easiest. You can get money, you have money, you can get some family member, you can tell them some sort of sob story and they'll write a check for a couple $100,000. Okay, you can get money if you need it, right? Even in the higher interest rates, it was a little easier a few years ago, but money, especially if you have a going concern, especially if you have a business, you probably have capital or access to it. A bank will loan you some money. So money is usually not the issue. Negotiating, that's the fun part of putting the deals together. That's what I like the best. The most difficult of this acquisition is the search. And I call that, this is a very technical term, you guys might want to write this down, I call it brain damage work. Yeah. It is terrible, terrible work. Calling up business owners, hey, I've got money and I want to buy your company. Click. They hear this all day long. And so trying to find a good company, because if you do talk to somebody that wants to sell a business, they probably have some sort of problem. Yeah, I'd love to sell it to you. And it's probably the FBI is knocking on his door for some sort of ghost payroll, or he put his mom in front of called it a woman-owned business. And I've seen situations like that. So hey, get me out of this thing. So why are they talking to you? So you want to understand that. So trying to find a good company for sale, and an owner who's reasonable, because if you don't have to sell, if you love what you're doing and you make good money and someone calls you up, I want to buy your company, what am I going to do with myself? I got plenty of money. I make good money from this thing. You couldn't offer that person enough money. And that puts some added pressure on simply trying to find good companies to buy.
Yeah, makes sense. What about like there's so many baby boomers that businesses that are going to be closing here or just moving on or whatever.
They've been saying that for 20 years.
Yeah, but you see like less and less. I guess less and less buyers. I mean, people aren't having as many kids. So it just seems like there's going to be a lot more inventory than buyers. What are some ways to get in front of them that you see?
Yeah. Well, that's something that people have been forecasting, like I said, for a couple decades. All these baby boomers, they're going to be retiring, and all these companies. Hasn't happened.
Yeah.
Right? They're holding on to their companies, or they maybe work out a discreet deal with one of their managers, and they don't go to market. They don't call somebody like me. It's not marketed. So those things, or they pass it along to the kids. They, a junior's completed rehab, and he's not sniffing coke anymore, and we're going to trust him. We're going to trust baby Huey, who's been living in the basement, and he's 40 years old. That he's turned a corner and he can run the business now. Here. Yeah, that's what he says. It was a lost 20 years, but it was a long weekend, but he's back. So, that kind of stuff is going on too. How do you, if you want to buy a company, that's a great question. And you just can't say, I've got money and I want to buy you. You've got to have something else and come up with a thesis. That's one of the things that we've used. What's a thesis? Something other than saying, I got money and I want to buy you. So we've got a client and they see something in the industry, and let me give you a couple ideas. Hey, why don't we get together? I'll buy you lunch, or we can talk on the phone, or take you golfing and talk about this. I'd like to talk to you because you, business owner, are an expert. Let me know if my client or my notion of what's going on specifically in your business holds water. So something going on in your business, the collapse of the multiples. You can call up an owner of a insurance firm, a brokerage firm, and say, hey, are you seeing the same thing too? I've got a couple ideas on this. I'd love to get together. Can I buy you a sandwich sometime? Or, do you play golf, or can we go do something else? So if you can talk about something else and have something useful, it's a philosophy that I have, which is offer something. Stop asking. The whole world is asking, right? You got to offer something. And so if you can couch your approach in an offer, sincere offer, you have a greater chance that somebody will engage you in a discussion. And then if you're artful enough and creative enough and quick enough, maybe you can steer that conversation into what that person wants to do. And then maybe you're having a real discussion about acquiring the company. But it's far more difficult than it sounds like that. It's easier said than done.
I love it. Going back to the marketing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Bingo. I was golfing a few years ago here in suburban Chicago, and executive at one of the banks around here I know took a couple of people out to his country club, nice country club out in the suburbs. And he says, Bill, here's the guy you're going to be playing with. It was a former PE guy. He was on his own. He was looking to buy a company. And I knew where this conversation was going. So I'm driving the cart, get to know him a little bit, wait a couple holes. And I say, so you want to buy a company? How's it going? And he just kind of shrunk like this. And he said, it's a lot more difficult than I thought. And because he was used to, people like me calling him and saying, here's a one pager on this company. Are you interested in looking at this? So he didn't know what to do. This guy had a membership at Medina, which is a high-end, fancy a country club here. Everybody wants to play it. They sometimes have PGA events there, so it's a fancy thing. And I said, how many business owners have you invited and taken out golfing at your fancy country club? And he laughed at me. Why would I want to do something like that? I said, you got a golden ticket, man. You call up enough business owners, you have a thesis, something to talk about. If you segue, hey, do you golf? Okay, not everyone's going to take you up on this, but if you do this enough, maybe you get a few people, you take golfing and you get to know them in a social situation, not just business over the phone. And if you're artful enough, maybe you can develop that rapport and that relationship. What are you doing with the company? And maybe that leads to you being able to acquire the company. You've got to do creative things like that, but sounds like work. That's the main reason people don't do things. Sounds like work. Why would I want to do it?
Work, hanging out at the golf course, meeting people. That's tough.
I've got clients on the golf course. It's tough work, guys. Someone's got to do it.
Someone has to.
Seriously, if you want to do what I do, you learn to play golf, because there are two types of people in the world: those who can golf and those who can't. Yeah. And the further you get in your career, I'm sorry if you guys don't play golf, but you don't want to be the guy that says, no, sorry, I don't play golf. Even if you're not good, as long as you know the etiquette and you keep pace, Because the most important score in golf, people always think it's, writing 75 or 90 or whatever you get. The most important score, the most important number in golf is time. Okay. Because you want to play, but you don't want to spend all day. So you want to get done as quickly as possible, probably because it's torture.
Right.
So if you know how to play and you can play quickly and you fix your ball marks and you know all that etiquette, you are in the club, man, because you know how to golf. Even if you have a horrendous score, at least you look like you know what you're doing. So I implore anybody who wants to be in business in advance, learn to play golf.
All you need to do is bring 90 balls and every time that you hit one, just go up 200 yards and drop one.
Yeah.
You'll be good.
You could do that. Yeah. It's kind of like, full contact golf. You can try that. Listen, a guy I golf with has injured himself. It's absolutely hilarious. At least on 2 occasions, has injured himself very horribly by hitting a golf ball. One time into a tree stump and it hit his leg and down he went. I thought he broke his shin. And then another time somehow he mishit the ball and it bounced up right into his mouth and it cut his lip open. So he holds the world record for the most grievous injuries inflicted by his own struck golf ball. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So there's certain goals you want to have in life too. And
amazing.
That's not one of them that I want. Yeah.
Okay.
I got to use those marketing skills of my wife to allow me to golf.
Oh, I got the solution there.
Okay.
This is what you tell her. And it's something my father used to say. He passed away a few years ago, so he won't sue me for plagiarizing him. But he would say, because he enjoyed golf, he was in business and he did well. And he said, a man has time for 3 things in his life: career, family, and one hobby, if you want to be good at it. These guys that want to play golf and then be a great tennis player and go skiing and go horseback riding and have a power boat and a sailboat and ride a motorcycle and, on and on and on. These are all great pastimes. There's nothing wrong with any of those pastimes. But if you want to have a level proficiency and have a career and family, you can't have 6 or 7 hobbies and be good at them. You can only choose one. So tell her, I'm going to choose golf for career purposes. Okay. See if you can sell that. Now, here's the downside. I told a young guy who was getting married.
You can't say that.
Well, this is the problem, because I told a young guy who used to work for me to do that, and he tried it. He came to work on Monday. I said, "Well, how'd it go? What did she say?" And he said, "Yeah, it's terrible. Now she wants to play golf with me." So you have to be careful that she doesn't want to learn to play golf, because that's
you can't make it sound too fun.
Right. He oversold his card.
No, it's awful. It's no. Oh, sure, sounds golf. You want to play golf every weekend? I'll join you. Teach me how. Yeah. What a disaster. the poor kid. They married and they have a kid, and he's probably walking. He's walking around the suburbs somewhere holding her purse. I mean, that's what's happening. It's just terrible.
Dude, my wife and I went to the golf course one time. It was probably it had to be late 90s. It was a long ass time ago.
Yeah.
And it was the one time. They get turned into a terrible argument. I mean, I had very low emotional intelligence and she had a very bad swing. So
God. It just God. No, you got to put your foot down. No, I mean, some women, if they're good at golf, that's great. That's fine.
Yeah.
Most would rather. Oh, I'm going to get in trouble here. These are jokes. Everybody say them all the time here, but they want to go to stores and buy picture frames and candles and pillows. And I have a special lady friend, and she has 2 of those 3 curses. So everything except the picture frames. Believe me, every time I go there to her house, there's more candles and more pillows all over the place. So that's what she's good at.
Yeah.
Bill, this has been funny, informative. I think you wrote a book.
Oh, let me show you. I don't think we mentioned that. Yeah, right there.
Oh, look at that. How'd you get past the copyright thing?
Yeah. How did you get a hold of that? Yeah, they contacted me. I wrote something else, and that's how I got it.
What was the other thing?
I wrote a book on venture capital. I was upset about business meeting that did not go well. And I had an article idea, and I thought I'll finish the article, and it kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I thought, well, I'll make it a book. So I made it even bigger. And then I wove a narration through it. And I had some fun with it. And I called it Venture Capital 101, which you can still buy on Amazon, probably still has some typos. And so it's a little booklet. I just gave it away as a PDF. I didn't know what to do with it. This was 20 years ago. And that went all over the internet. And I was a very, very, very minor viral hit before that was a term. And people were contacting me with good offers and bad offers and a lot of crazy stuff. So it was kind of interesting. Oh, cool. And I remember thinking if I knew what I was doing, I could do something with this. And a few years later, I morphed into the middle market investment banking world. And then a couple years after that, that little PDF I gave away for free ended up at Wiley Publishing. So they contacted me to write a book. And the lesson there is, if you have an idea, write it down. Especially if you want to write, you got to write every day. You got to work at those skills, and you have to show and demonstrate that you have skills and ability. You can't ask, okay? Because if I would have asked to write that book, it never would have happened. But I had shown skill and ability. So basically, I had something that I could offer, something that here's what I have done, and they found it. And they contacted me. So that's how it all came together.
There's that marketing lesson again. That free offer marketing lesson. That has been the theme of this.
There you go.
And asking, all you're going to get is shitty advice from everybody, right? Like your friends are going to tell you, dude, you can't write a book. And the enemies are going to say, why would you spend your time? You're never going to get good feedback.
I get people that say that all the time. Why would you do something like that? And of course, I don't care what they say. I did it for myself. And as a writer, what that taught me, I was in my early 40s when I did that I am a writing preferenced learner. And I guess I've always known that, but actually working through that, an industry that I knew well by that time, and I'd had some success at it, having to think through all the steps of why we do and then explain it, helped me uncover more ideas and learning. And so I learned more about my industry by having to write 300 plus pages about it and put that together. So I'm very, very fortunate. And because of that, I was contacted by some groups overseas. So before the pandemic, I was speaking overseas. I was going to Dubai and Malaysia and doing presentations. I was in discussions to go elsewhere. Hopefully that comes back. But I never would have gotten that if I would have asked. They were looking for speakers on a certain subject. They found my book and they contacted me. So again, if I would have looked for that, never would have happened. But I had something to offer. And then people come to me with ideas too. So it's been the most valuable career bit of advice that I've taught myself, and I try and tell that to everybody else. Have something to offer. Stop asking. Have something to offer.
Yeah, we finished
mic drop
a book, and it is at the publisher right now.
Oh, bro, good. You're not supposed
it's not. There's no book, and it's not at the publisher.
Well, you can do that today very easily with all the tools. And dude, we can talk offline. I'll tell you exactly how to do it.
I don't know that it was easy.
So here's the thing. This is what's funny. We started writing this 2 years ago, right? So
sure.
So all of the all of the hard part was done before AI could organize our brains. And now it's like, dude, the tools that are out, it's like crazy. What would help us have at least at the beginning phases,
Yeah. Because it definitely can't write it, but it can give it can really help with ideas. It's so quick,
Yeah. That's the devil's tool. You want to stay away from that. It's right up there with mayonnaise. Disgusting things like that. Mayonnaise is devil's snot, is what I call that. And the AI, I think that's the tool of the devil. Stay away from that, kids.
What happens if you ask mayonnaise questions too?
You don't want to do that. It is just absolutely
like crossing the streams in Ghostbusters.
It is. Yeah, it's even worse than that. It's just the most revolting thing ever. So you want to stay away. And the AI, I don't know. I get so tired now, and I'm like a cranky son of a gun now. And I'm glad I'm old now, because I was always cranky. Also, I always look forward to being older. But I get a lot of LinkedIn contacts, and no doubt people will send me LinkedIn contacts, and you can tell that you're not talking or communicating with an actual person. It's a bot. It's AI. And I just find that so insulting. And so I have a test now. And at some point, AI will figure this out. So when I suspect it's AI, I just type gibberish. I just make up words by random letters that you cannot pronounce. but I make it kind of look like a sentence. Put an exclamation point in it. And then I send that. If it's a person, they'll respond with a question mark. The AI does not know how to process that. I'm sure they'll figure out how to deal with jerks like me, but I do that almost every day, and it stops them in the tracks.
Well, dude, that'll like train it. That's great because you're untraining it essentially. Yeah. So at some point, I'm sure they'll figure that out. So the next step is to load up your social media, because they're scraping your social media with just a bunch of junk and just nonsense. So that's the problem, I think, with AI. It's just a classic computer program, right? Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing how quick it is, but garbage in, garbage out, right? AI, write a book, okay? Until AI says, I want to write a book and it's going to be on this subject, until it can come up with that on its own volition, it's not real artificial intelligence. Just a really quick, cool program that can do a lot of stuff.
Right.
There you go.
Cool, man. How can anyone get a hold of you? Like, if
they go to my website. They go to my website, billsnow.com, or some people like to say billsnow.com. You can find me pretty easy. Bills Now. You can find me pretty easily on LinkedIn and even Twitter. And if you send me an interesting message, I might respond, and hopefully it won't be too snarky.
Or hopefully it will.
Yeah, it will.
I mean, why do we even have to label it?
I sometimes will, fire back because people are. Oh, wait, hold on a second. Hold on a second, guys. I have. We got to wrap up here.
We got to wrap. Let's wrap.
Yeah, got to wrap up here.
Wrap it.
Bill. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Sorry,
we got to go. We were installing Windows today. Thanks, guys.
See ya.